Welcome back to the placements. Anatoly here at the desk. All these teams here fighting for their chances at the Hi-Res Expo, but you guys at home can get your own digital loot pack. The Hi-Res Expo one, get your Jormungandr, Nox, Hercules, King Arthur for only 1,500 gems. And to help me break it down here at the desk for the next set is going to be Zeros here. How you feeling today, Zeros?
With Slaney being on the desk here earlier, I was worried I was getting replaced by a coach again, but I guess I'm back now, so all good.
It's all good here at the desk here as we're approaching the second half now. We're seeing SK Gaming up against Sanguine here. A lot has happened so far in the past with some of these matchups. SK Gaming formally finding their victory over Outcold Gaming. Good performance out of them, but then Sanguine as well had some good performance over Space Station Gaming.
Yeah, for sure. I think this match is going to be so interesting, especially Sheento versus Paul. We see both games Sanguine won last game. Both the wins came off Hell. And we know Paul likes Hell as well, so.
The Hell was really good, but let's go ahead and take a look at the brackets here. It's how we approached it. Day number 3, Outcold Gaming did take out the console team in round 1 alongside the minor leagues coming through there. But now here in day number 3, we're seeing SK Gaming against Sanguine, and then to wrap things up, in the 4th set, LG up against Simplicity. Should be a very spicy one as well.
Yeah, both these games should be really good. This is the winner bracket as well, right? So these are the teams that haven't lost yet, so as well, you never know. They can still lose and drop down, so we're not sure if they want to show everything, but I think they're going to go all in.
The winner of that one only needs one more to qualify towards Hi-Res Expo. The loser of this one is going to go drop down to face off against the Hype Unit SCL team that made it really far so far. I'm really excited to see this one. But talking about this specific matchup, Zeros, SK Gaming, they came into the placement rounds as the number 7 SPL team. And so far, I think in game number 1 against Outcold Gaming have looked very clean with that 18-minute game 1 performance.
Yeah, as a lot of us predicted before placement week, we thought SK was going to be the top team. And looking at the SPL standings, they are very far ahead of the team below them, right?
Sure.
They're also behind the teams above them, but I think they are one step ahead of the other teams here.
Despite finishing both Phase 1 and Phase 2 at 4 and 5 apiece, it feels like they came very prepared for every opponent thus far. But Sanguine kind of provides a different style. Who from SK Gaming do you expect to really need to pop off to find the victory today?
I feel like it's always a lot on Paul. I feel like if Paul can get one of his comfort picks, he doesn't have the biggest god pool in my opinion, but when he does get one of his favorite picks, like the Hell, the Persephone, the Ullr, I feel like he performs so well.
That's a good point that you mentioned about the Hell, because it's not only Paul that likes that pick, it's also Sheento. Do you expect any sort of Hell bans in this best of 3 set?
I think that's very possible. I think Hell's gonna be super highly prioritized. Then again, both of these players really knows how to play the Hell, and usually when you know how to play a god that well, you usually know what's good against it too, right? So, not 100% sure, but yeah.
And if we're looking at SK Gaming, it's more than just Paul, what he's able to bring in the mid lane. Belair yesterday on the Camazons.
Oh, yeah.
A great performance coming out of him, which felt kind of like a selfish pick at first just to win a laning matchup against the King Arthur, but he'll be up against Haddix out of Sanguine here. That's stepped up, I think, in a comfortable plug-and-play situation, replacing Yarkor.
Yeah, I think he called himself Yarkor 2.0, so probably pretty confident. But yeah, going back to Belair on the Camazons, that was a great performance. Belair's been kind of up and down, so it's good to see him have this good performance. I think that's really important for SK, because I feel the other side of SK, their other mid and duo lane, usually does pretty well. So if Belair can perform well as well, I think they're in a pretty good spot.
Pretty good KDA performance out of Sheento with his 2-1 victory over Space Station Gaming, playing the Hell from time to time. Panitom likes his Erlong Shen, made it very difficult for Barracuda to survive in some of those late game exchanges. What are we expecting out of Panitom against SK today?
Yeah, I don't know too much about Panitom. I have played against him a lot in ranked the last couple of days, because I don't know where they are, but they're somewhere at some internet cafe or something playing a lot of ranked. And he's kind of popping off almost every game, so I expect a lot of good things from him today.
Do you think that he can remain aggressive against SK Gaming when they have players like NeilMah that's going to be looking to invade your speed buff at level 1?
That is the problem, right? If you get invaded by the enemy support, and we know NeilMah, he likes to play these Fenris and Hercs, he likes his aggressive support, and as a jungler you can really get shut down by that and be really far behind from the early game. So we'll have to see after the first game, I think.
I think it's going to come down to the picks and bans, because both of these teams are very aggressive by nature. Even Stanford Soccer as well. Haddix Cabrakan, I believe, banned out during the Outcold Gaming set, so who knows what direction it's going to go to. But game number 1, set number 3 of day number 3, SK Gaming versus Sanguine. I'm very very excited for this matchup, Zeros.
Yeah, very excited. Gonna be interesting. Sanguine's on the second pick here, so like I think against SK, Paul has, I think every game he got Persephone, he won in SPL and at the placement, and he's been kind of popping off as well. So I expect to see Persephone ban. Are they gonna ban Isis though, Sanguine? That is the question.
If your second pick, it feels like you kind of have to ban away the Isis, and as good of a win rate that Paul has had with the Persephone, to be fair, it was a small sample pool size because of how many bans were on the Persephone. I think most players are having a very high win rate on that goddess, and respecting that fact, Sanguine not gonna allow that one to go through.
Now Amaterasu is open. And Hell is still open. Okay, it's gonna be the Amaterasu. I wonder if Hell is gonna be prioritized here or not.
I believe it should be, right? If you look at players such as Sheento, such as Paul, even though Paul has had chances to pick it in the earlier set against Out Cold Gaming, you know he still has that in the back pocket. That's kind of what he made his name off of, like you mentioned, the Ullr, the Hell, and even the Raijin way back when. But it looks like Sanguine being aggressive in their solo jungle combination instead first.
Yeah, for sure. The Osiris super strong. I feel like Osiris should have a pretty good matchup against Amaterasu as well. Bacchus, that's interesting. That's something we haven't seen in a while.
That is a curveball of all curveballs I've seen in a while there. Now, to be fair, if you're looking for anti-healing, Bacchus provides that. And for great burst damage setup, I believe the best form of a CC is the knockup.
Yeah.
And Bacchus, one of the best knockups in the game.
Yeah, for sure. If you get hit by the knockup and you don't pre-beat it, if you get flown up into the air, it's too late to use Relic Stand, and then most of the times you're dead, so.
Especially if you're in a sanctified field, but opting for the Ullr instead of the Ullr, and this is what Sanguine ran yesterday, actually. Why are we seeing the Freya during placement, Zeros?
I just think this is early. They played a lot of magical ADCs. He went a lot to the Ullr, won one game, lost the other game, like really struggled early game, the second game they lost. And then he went over to Freya, another magical ADC, not as good late game as the Ullr, but very, very much better in the early game.
Is it about trying to control the laning phase up against Zapman? Is that where we're going to see it in the hands of Netrioid?
Yeah, it must be that, I think. I don't see any other reason. Thing is, I'm not really sure. Like, people stop playing Freya altogether after the nerfs.
Sure.
But I don't even know if she's that bad right now. Those items, the Monocrypt, Telecines, such good items, you know, so she might still be undervalued.
Do you think that you're going to need more defense now, like potentially a Gab locked in to shield the Freya if she gets into a sticky situation? Maybe that's why the Capri's banned away from SK?
That's a good question. Maybe, yeah. Just interested, like thinking about it as well, the Freya a little bit. I feel like Bacchus should do really well against Freya. If Bacchus goes Blink, he can Blink out this Freya, and like I feel like he's gonna be able to force her out pretty early in the fights. But a Hera as well.
And these are two magical backline carries. Is Sanguine going to be hurting from not having that physical backline carry to maybe go for some of the Phoenix damages? Because as good as Freya is about melting objectives, it's not good about melting towers or Phoenixes necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. They're really going to struggle with that. I guess Argus could be a big help to do that kind of stuff. But then again, you think about objective damage when it comes to Goldfuse and Firegant as well. That's pretty lackluster on the Sanguine's side of things here.
And already with the last pick of Horus, we were kind of thinking that it might have been the Geb, but Horus also really good about peeling some good mobility options for him to reposition the team fight as well. We saw some good tactics with Horus so far during the introduction of that, being able to do some surprise tactics. What draft are you favoring here today, Zeros?
I must say SK, because I feel like they have better objective damage, and I think this Morrigan, I suppose it's going to be Zapman or Morrigan, if he can perform well on this and make his way to the backline and come to initiate on the Freya and Hera and turn into, like, he has so many good transformations, Amaterasu, Bacchus. I would probably prefer Bacchus in the late game. If you get the Morrigan combo off into a Bacchus ult on either Hera or Freya, there's going to be a lot of damage, and you kind of force them back straight away, so...
Looks like a lot of control here with the Hunbat's Fear No Evil. Hard for Osiris to really get into the thick of things there. And of course it's going to be Zapman on Morrigan when you got the Ullr locked in for Paul. He's going to be super aggressive. I'm expecting SK Gaming to look for multiple red buff invades with this Ullr versus Hera matchup.
Yeah, I feel like Hera should really struggle against Ullr in the early game too, right? Ullr is so aggressive, has so much damage in the early game in mid. And then you have Hera, which kinda, she has to go closer creep wave to clear with this one as well, right? Not that much range on that, so she's really gonna have to be careful.
Level 1, how are these teams starting off? Who's invading who?
I think SK has definitely better early game here, in my opinion.
the Bacchus is going to be very powerful, I think, against the Susano. We've seen so many times when the supports are chasing around the jungler, but what about a Bacchus that has extra magical power with a Chug that has access to it at level 1 with the burp, with the belly flop? Doesn't even matter. SK Gaming going to be aggressive. Sanguine, though, how do they respond to that aggression?
I think level 1 before creep waves meet, I think they're good to go, right? Because they have the Horus. He's really strong level 1, so we'll just have to see.
SK Gaming versus Sanguine. Let's throw it over to the casters.
Well, we've got the crowd favorite here, SK Gaming #1 on a lot of people's brackets, and we've got the cult favorite, Sanguine. For people that have been following the minor league teams, I mean, this is a squad that has been quietly putting up the entire year. If you're just joining us, they are here without their normal solo laner Haddix, or Hardcore rather, Haddix in the spot. But Hardcore has been working with Haddix behind the scenes and working to make noise. And honestly, for their performance earlier in the week, I've enjoyed what I've seen out of Sanguine. Ryan, the question I pose to you, is it enough to topple SK?
It's going to be tough, man. I mean, this SK Gaming team is so good when they're able to get off to a good start, or when they're able to set their feet on the defense. I think that it's a really good combo that your two strongest points of your game are your ability to blow the game wide open and just get off to a huge lead early. SK can do that. And if they fall behind early, they are one of the best defensive teams in the entire league. So Sanguine doesn't have a whole lot of opportunity to just get a free win, more or less. I think that this is going to be a tough match for SK, or for Sanguine, but also for SK.
I love, so Neil is, I feel like other supports people will contest. Neil walks to your speed buff and your jungler leaves.
Yep.
That's kind of just what happens. We see that go on right now as Panitom leaves the speed buff, and not even a hard commit from NeilMah. Neil and Belair go for the blue buff invade, and that'll send the TP back to lane.
Interesting. Decides to use it there, even though he could have just walked. It's to make sure that Haddix doesn't get to walk in and just do his speed buff right away. It does set you into an awkward position, though, because normally that back timing is pretty important.
Oh, Zapman forced into the beam. Nice shot by Ronngyu. Ronngyu, support player. One of my favorite players to watch on the Sanguine team. And honestly, as we watched them throughout the regular season and they kind of picked up steam going, it was Ronngyu that was the first guy to really go, all right, we're here to stay. And then everybody, Sheento, Netrioid, these guys are superstars in their own right. They kind of followed suit. Ronngyu is the setup man in every sense of the word.
Love the way that he loves to get aggressive in the early game. He has very similar god pool to NeilMah. Maybe not the Hercules, which is kind of the farthest end of the spectrum for that aggressive style, but certainly things pretty close to it. Naja, Shen, Horus. He loves these heavy setup gods that also have good pressure early.
Sanguine finding their own style as well, which breaks the mold of so many of these international teams. Don't forget, Sanguine, a full Latin American team, Haddix stepping in, not quite, but a Latin American team with their own identity. I mean, we see the Freya, we see the Hera, which has risen in popularity, but Sheento likes this choice, and Netrioid on the Freya, he really likes this choice.
Heard him in the post-game interview yesterday say, I just love this god. I love playing it, and he plays it really, really well. It still does a lot of the same things. It still has those insane moments where you get to just gas pedal your opponent and burst them down before they're really ready for you.
Banish still an incredible setup tool as well. Panitom looking to shade over and help Haddix, but SK Gaming catch him out as they look for the second blue buff invade. Panitom chased out by Neil, and this one should be clean for SK.
This shouldn't be a surprise to Sanguine. This was SK Gaming's plan yesterday in game #1 as well, is just camp solo lane, get Belair ahead, and feeling comfortable in this lane. I think this is a wise decision. You just get Belair ahead and let him really dive aggressively. He does that really, really well. I know people are sometimes critical of Belair, but he still does that part well.
Zapman no beads, gets controlled by Ronngyu. The body blocks are perfect. Zapman has no escape. And the first blood goes to support, not Ares, but the Horus. Great job there from Sanguine, teaming up. And again, perfect by Ronngyu.
This is a good style by Sanguine. If they're going to have Neil roam and not be in duo lane at all, if they're going to invade on Haddix's blue, at some point, you should just be making sure Zapman doesn't get waves on this left-hand side. He hasn't gotten a purple yet this game. He's been zoned from a lot of waves. I like this call. I think it's a smart play by Sanguine, and you kind of put the ball in SK Gaming's court. Come over here and save Zap from certain death every time Ronngyu shows up.
Solo side is a focus for SK. Paul continuing to land whatever he wants on the Ullr. As you said, people have been critical about Belair. I've been one of those critics. But the thing is, it just seems like this guy plays very well from ahead and poorly from behind. So that's what you're going to do. You're just going to put him ahead. If I'm Sanguine, don't I want to find and try to put Belair behind? Because that's not what we've seen so far. Left side, Netrioid.
No, okay. Ooh. Got a little nervous there for a second, Tom, but everything's A-okay. SK grab it. And Zapman really punishing Netrioid for on that first blood. Zapman does everything he can, extends his life as long as he can, turned around and stunned Netrioid, got his beads, and Sam for Soccer comes over and relieves pressure at the perfect time. Netrioid had a ward on where Sam was coming from, but just didn't get a chance to separate. They couldn't use Banish in time to link close the gap, and Netrioid only being level 4 meant that was a guaranteed kill.
Player here rotating away from NeilMah, looking for the blue invade. Players, the Yoink, and escape out of Belair. Panitom will continue to deal damage, but now focus on the level 3 Bacchus. NeilMah has been harassing players, and that puts him a little behind. And Haddix looking for the kill. This is support from the solo Amaterasu. Panitom puts NeilMah down. Ronngyu from out of nowhere, and all of a sudden Belair falls. The 2 for none on the right side of the map.
This is exactly what Sanguine wanted to happen, is NeilMah fall behind, make sure that Rongyu's getting tons of farm because he's standing in duo lane like you used to, and all of a sudden Rongyu's huge. He got first blood, he's at level 5, is able to rotate over to the solo fight, and Neil's only level 3. This is where, when the meta is so circular, in that once one team starts doing things, everyone starts to copy it. When your support's level 3, the other support is level 3, it's not so bad. That's just what supports are this game. When one support's level 5 or 6 and you're level 3, then you start to notice a really big difference. And Rongyu's presence has certainly been felt both in left lane now and the solo lane.
That's what you got to expect. And as I was bringing up the conversation, shouldn't Sanguine pay attention to the solo side as well? And just like that, they do. Fun stuff there. A big part of what this SK Gaming team is going to need, I think, is going to be Paul. Finish the Transcendence and stacking it. And once we hit our stride after boots, expect him to be all in. That's got to be what we see in the middle lane, I think.
I like what Zap's doing on this left-hand side. He's bringing the wave close to his tower line so that Netrioid is going to have to walk way out of position in order for him to get the wave and make him miss some more creeps. The problem is it's freezing Neil as well. It's keeping Neil on this left-hand side where he desperately needs farm, but can't really afford to be roaming and miss out on back-to-back waves. It's just it's a good decision by Zap for his lane, maybe not the best decision for Neil in the way that he has to play.
Panitom now on the blue buff. Belair is here and is unable to get it this time around. That's 1 for 4. So Sanguine's Haddix is able to pick that one up. Nice job to them as they adjust and grab the blue buff and try to turn things around for sure.
I like the adjustment from Neil to spend more time over here in the duo lane. It makes sure that Zap is safe. Make sure that you're not getting your purple invaded. Zap doesn't get the XP for that purple, but it's more important that Netrioid isn't getting in. So you're even so far in that lane.
Looking for the trap, but Banish. The blink forward, and now Netrioid forced into the ultimate. NeilMah and Zapman still on the chase. 1, 2, and Zapman makes the Amaterasu transformation and puts him down. It's the second kill for the carry out of New York.
And that's what pulling that wave to your tower line does. I mean, Netrioid is Freya, Valkyrie's Discretion, gives you so much safety, but it's not a lot of movement. It's really good when you're getting tower dove or in the middle of a team fight because you don't have all this time. But in lane, it's only going to take you so far. And Zapman makes a nice selection on who he wants to change into. Maybe a little bit premature, but just because Belair doesn't have boots done, he went with the Berserker Shield rush. But with the extra movement speed and the dash, able to close that gap onto Netrioid nicely. And Zap's veteran presence in that left lane being seen early in this game.
Very important stuff. I mean, understanding the lane dynamic and the safety factor, or rather how unsafe you and your opponent are. I think that's really what you know, if you want to pin down what that veteran experience bonus is, it's that. And Netrioid going to have to adjust to that one. All quiet in the mid lane as we've been focused on the side lanes, which we've said time and time again has been odd, but that seems to be the tournament meta, straying away from this 3v3 and instead focusing elsewhere.
They're going to rotate in. These mid harpies are up. This might be a good opportunity if Paul can find something. Ronngyu take a little bit of damage. And Sheento, an awful lot of damage. That's his beads on cooldown. And Sam for Soccer is glad to hear that.
Looking like that might be the Gold Fury opportunity for SK. They're at least going to look towards the Oracles. All still here. That combo will delete Sheento. Very dangerous player to be there. Oracles will be what SK Gaming look for and find. No bigger objective there. The game continues to be tied up here at 10 minutes.
Now that Zap is starting to push waves, that tells me that SK is looking to get aggressive in this jungle. Try and get purple and red buff as often as they can. They know this purple timer. They're going to take it with ease. And Netrioid, despite getting first blood in his lane, remember Rongyu's the one who got it. But Netrioid was there and got the assist. He's pretty far behind. He's about a level and a half down. Zapman in XP at this point. Very close in net worth, so the gold differential isn't really there, but Zap's just base stats are going to be better from here on out.
A couple of minions denied. So Zapman is a little bit stronger. The stealth to get into lane. Again, the adaptation from Neil to return to lane, very, very intelligent. You don't always get to play the game that you intend to. You've got to play the hand that you're dealt. You know, that's life advice. And Neil absolutely, you know, taking his 2 queens and running with it for sure.
Been a little bit slower as of late. SK Gaming still down by a little bit, but this is still okay by SK standards. Their team fight composition, I think, is far better than what Sanguine has. I mean, Sanguine's got a Freya in the late game, which can be problematic. They've got Hera in the late game, which is definitely problematic.
Yep.
But between Batz and Amaterasu, they have so much control, and the Morrigan. I feel like SK is going to be very willing to take this one late game.
Zapman willing to go behind enemy lines. Red buff is going to be the target. Knockup misses. Ronngyu dashes to the back line. Ultimate from Panitom won't find a home. And the red buff able to be snatched away. No. So SK Gaming get their invade again.
That is what SK is looking for. These left side invades. They're not messing around with Haddix anymore. He's got to the point where he's escaped the laning phase, even or ahead, up against Belair. Belair will be able to sneak in and get some buff and bait himself. But you don't necessarily want to just give Haddix extra Glad Shield procs at this point. Sam's played this one pretty slow. Even when Sheento used those beats in mid, they're coming up right now. He still didn't play aggressive.
Ronngyu has Blink available. Zap and NeilMah run away. The pings were big. Good communication coming out from SK Gaming. A lot of wards on the enemy side specifically. But that allowed SK to tell everybody where Sanguine was coming from. This is as close of a game, I think, as we've seen. 5 gold separate our teams wave to wave. This is very, very close. And similar to kind of our other games, I think a lot of fans at home are surprised at how well this Sanguine team plays. I think they are the second dark horse as console hype unit. Surprised a lot of folks with their wins. I think Sanguine are also taking a lot of people by surprise here today.
Definitely. If you're just an SPL fan and you expect, oh, these minor league teams coming in, they're not going to do a whole lot of anything. Look at Simplicity and Sanguine.
Yeah.
They took down a couple SPL squads. They're both in the winner's bracket. We get to see Sanguine here, Simplicity in the last set of the day, coming up right after this. Sanguine's a team that really prides themselves on teamwork and utilizing their experience with one another into translating that into wins. And that's why the fact that Yarkor, their normal zone laner, not being here is so scary for this team. But Haddix is slotted in really nicely, and I think that Sanguine fans should be excited about their chances this week.
There is still a slight language barrier. Haddix doesn't speak Spanish. The Sanguine guys do speak English, But when you're on that run and you're on that tear, it is all Spanish in those comms. And Haddix just has to trust his solo lane instincts to kind of fall in line. And if there's a point for SK to kind of identify, I think that might be it. NeilMah gonna deny the invade here from Sanguine. Great job playing bouncer. Paul picks up his red buff. Neil's gonna blink on a Sheento. The beads will avoid the stun. Great job, because Sam was inevitably gonna follow up with Fear No Evil.
Really good patience there by Sam to not drop that Fear No Evil, knowing that Ronngyu and Panitom were coming in. And that Sheento had Aegis still up. He's right on his tower line. Good decision to be patient with that Fear No Evil. But I like the idea of this Bacchus pick against the Hera. NeilMah doesn't commit the leap at all, just blink burp. And what is Sheento supposed to do in that spot? He has to use the beads, otherwise he's going to take way too much guarantee.
One of the things that allows Sheento to be such a strong player, I think, is positioning and understanding. Watch the way, so he's got good vision here, but watch the way he plays in lane. And this is something that probably speaks to you, because he's always on the opposite wall of the jungler. He knows where Sam is, and he'll always hug that wall. And those sort of like micro-spacing moments, really important when you're playing at this level.
It's huge. It frees up so many junglers for making plays. Sam tries to come over and defend blue on this side of the map, and look at this, Sam's in mid.
And smash will do some damage, but not enough, as Bacchus lets us know. Ronngyu and Sheento kind of feeling good about that one.
Got the Aegis that time from Sheento. That's fine. Now Sheento is relicless for this engagement, and Sam still has Blink Ult available, so he should be able to basically solo kill Sheento from this point. He maybe needs a little bit of extra help, but Belair should be able to basically solo kill Sheento. How does he get away from Dazzling Offensive? He doesn't. He's going to take a lot of base damage just from that ability alone.
Good choice of the tank boots coming out from Ronngyu. NeilMah and Sam for Soccer both going to clock that amount. They'll get those stacks very, very quickly. So the tank boots should come in the clutch. Hey, Haddix gets another blue buff. He's got to be happy about that.
Belair even used ult there, so.
Yeah.
Surprise, I mean, I feel like this is where SK should be looking to play aggressively. They know Sheento has no relics, and it's not for much longer, only 30 seconds. Ward vision's good for SK. Let's pull something, fellas. Let's either go for gold, let's kill him in mid, let's do something.
And see, I think the former is a possibility, the latter is not. Sheento has just stood on the tower, hugged the correct, been in the right spot. He's making it so difficult for SK to go for the gank in middle lane that I think the objective is the right call. Pull Sheento away from his safe spot.
Now he's got beads though. I mean, he's going to walk in, and this is where it's danger zone for SK. If they aren't precise with their timers, and they think, okay, his beads must still be down, let's just go all in for him, and then he does have those beads, that can be problematic.
Well, the pings are out. SK want to stay aggressive. And how it's going to be a little bit rough there. But if you're just joining us, welcome to the SMITE World Championship placement stage. SK Gaming and Sanguine here, going head-to-head, about 17 minutes in, and tied for all intents and purposes. We've had a lot of drama throughout the week, some upsets, the console league hype unit team on a tear, and this Sanguine team, I think, surprising a lot of folks. SK, every game they've played, outside of one, have just seemed to be a stomp. Even the one that they lost, they played really well. Sanguine in parity, a minor league team. A lot of people are scratching their heads, but we're in for a good one, so settle down and enjoy.
Certainly haven't missed a whole lot these last few minutes. It's been slow and methodical for SK Gaming. Sheento, both relics going to be up very shortly. I mean, he's been able to get to level 17 in 17 minutes, 18 minutes. That is unheard of for mid laners, and I'm sure that he's feeling very happy about that. Ullr getting to level 17 in 18 minutes is usually because he's feasting off your team. All the late game is just not on a pick that does nearly as much as Sheento.
Frenzy popped and Gold Fury once stood there. SK Gaming, Blitzkrieg bop. Gold Fury gone will give them the first real lead of the game. 2,000 gold above Sanguine.
Belair teleports in, goes straight to gold, and that's when you've had very little fighting around objectives in particular. Up until this point in the game, it's pretty easy to forget how much damage everyone already has built in. You know, it's like, okay, first Gold Fury usually takes 15 to 20 seconds because they don't have a whole lot of items. When the first Gold Fury is pulled at 18 minutes, it takes 3. And especially when you have an Ama on one side.
Haddix chasing Belair back to lane. His tower on his last legs. Belair's been doing a good job here on the solo side. 2 levels up versus Haddix in the early stages. That was the big focus for SK Gaming. Again, Belair plays fantastically with a lead, but can be a liability at times, if not. 3 versus 2 in the middle lane. Soccer jumps over the wall. Safety. Panitom follows up and takes him down. Paul being chased by Argus as NeilMah shows up. Intoxicate, not enough. And Panitom escapes the bartender. NeilMah half HP. Sanguine already got what they came for. Down goes Sam.
Sam just doesn't respect that all-in potential from Sanguine. He gets stunned by Ronngyu. Okay, there's no way that they're going to step up. And then he gets knocked up by Ronngyu. It's like, all right, maybe they will step up. And by that time, Panitom has Jetstream on you. And as soon as Jetstream's on you, you're dead.
Yep.
Because you can't leap away. Sam just doesn't respect that damage coming through. A bit of a mistake for SK's jungler.
Rough stuff. Panitom, on the other hand, fantastic stuff for him. 2-0-1 so far for the jungler. He's been a big point, I think.
Is there that they look to get aggressive.
Pyromancers, Sanguine are willing to fight over. Top side, Panitom dealing with 2, but he's going to be taken out by the jungler. And bottom side, Ronngyu trying to zone out Zap, but can't do it. Paul shows up and puts number 4 up. That'll tie the team in kills. Brief whoop. They'll send players in different directions. Neil up north, Belair taking the long way around. Sam for soccer, over the wall, cutting him in half. One goes to the monkey after that, and Haddix on the run. Players chasing him down.
No axe that time, but the flop is good from NeilMah. Sam's in trouble on that top side. Netrioid might have him, but a 6 stun by Zapman saves Sam's life.
The carry's coming through. Belair puts down Haddix. Netrioid gets Zapman. That is a haphazard death there for Z-Man Senior, but Belair should chase him down. Gets him after the fact. Players are low. No Fire Giant.
No Fire Giant here. Delayed deicide for SK Gaming, and a little bit of a bad engagement by Ronngyu. He doesn't wait until Netrioid is there for that fight and ends up just getting crushed by both Paul and Zap. Good positioning by Paul and reacting to that blink in. Turns around, hits the axe perfectly. And then Sam and Neil just combined to insta-kill Panitom. I don't think Panitom had beads because he used them in that mid lane fight.
Yeah.
And so he was just getting his beads timer back up. Sam immediately found him in the jungle, and those two together just do too much damage.
If Panitom gets the flank off there, Sanguine are in a great spot, and I think that's why the positioning from SK was so important. Being able to catch the flanker and surprise him there was imperative to turning that around and putting that in SK's favor. Now a 5,000 gold lead for the Pro League team. They continue to look for it. Left side will be the focus as the Gold Fury respawns in about 25 seconds. And it'll be the Oni Fury. So a rather important one. You get the Oni Fury. Kind of invites you over to the Fire Giant. As long as you play it correctly. Paul sticking in the mid lane. Not wanting to relinquish any pressure whatsoever.
No Crusher for him, which is a bit interesting. Definitely low on attack speed in this build. Certainly not just outright damage his buttons are going to provide. That's the big thing here. Is goodbye, Netrioid.
See ya.
Morrigan, pretty good at doing just that. Sam Blink ult was there just in case, because he's got a good amount of CDR, 20% between Transcendence and Hydras, but I mean, I don't even know if they needed the ultimate. Netrioid just got popped.
Oni Fury. SK Gaming's worth a little bit of gold as well, stretching them up to about 6,000 gold in the lead, 6,500 to be more precise. Of course, that's going to send the Oni waves down. SK are going to grab the left side tower of their own volition, and then they'll have that strong wave later on. So great push here for SK Gaming. The last couple of minutes have been all SK. Up, down, left, right. And they are certainly looking clean now.
I mean, Sheento hit level 20 really early, but hasn't really been able to do a whole lot with it because this dive from SK has just been so efficient. Haddix has not been able to get into the back line at all towards the beginning of these fights. And every fight has just started off with SK setting the pace, just putting Sanguine on the back foot. And you can really tell that it's messing with him.
Ronngyu here, finding Belair. Tanky as all hell. And Amaterasu, very, very tanky. And I like the itemization here. You mentioned how Paul didn't have a lot of attack speed because of the Yoke instead of the Crusher. Well, there's a little bit of assistance by way of the Kurosai coming out from Belair. A little bit of help there.
Also helps him with his passive and the Frost Mount that he picks up.
Misses the ultimate. Dodged away from Ronngyu. Last half full, last half empty. Yeah, I like the synergy here coming out from SK Gaming, building for the team. The Relic Dagger coming out from Sam for Soccer. Wants to get more blinks out there. Obviously, it's going to help out with the beads as well. A lot of CC across the way, but more blinks, more fear no evils. That's a good look there for the jungler.
Just like Relic Dagger should really be considered core on Serqet, I think it should be considered pretty much core on Hun Batz.
Agreed.
It transforms the character from a good one to a great one. And Sam's been playing it to a great level. Now, not a lot of player damage for him. He's actually bottom of his team below NeilMah, but the pace being as it is, all of that damage from Sam has been very effective, and his target selection has been really good in these fights.
You look at the rest of the team, part of that damage comes from players that are crowd controlled by way of the Fear No Evil ultimate. So Sam for Soccer, 3-1-2 on the Hun Batz, low player damage. That's totally fine. You know, that's why these stats can be, you need contextualization, you need context, excuse me. Like my words larger than they need to be. Context is key, man. That's what you're looking at here. NeilMah finds himself in the middle lane, setting himself up. Paul coming up, and Sam on the left side, but Belair dealing with two players here on the solo side. Nice dash, and lurking is Zapman. Stun, Aegis is good, but Zapman after the fact goes into the Amaterasu. Netrioid goes into the sky, and Zapman goes into the ultimate. Paul from a distance off of the assist to Zapman gets the kill.
That was nice, just making sure that even through Rongyu's shield, we're going to have the damage necessary to take him down. Netrioid tried to go aggressive as soon as he got a big power spike for that hastened ring, and Belair and Zap shoved the door in his face.
Ronngyu here trying to make the move. Speeds are good for Sam for Soccer. He'll turn it around. Sam and Paul, baby, putting down Ronngyu. The duo looking like they did last year. Sam and Paul took the league by storm, and I think Season 6 has been kind of a lull. Sam has ascended and has become one of the most fearsome junglers around. But unfortunately, the flip side is that Paul has not stood up to be the player that we have watched once upon a time. This LAN, Paul has woke up just a little bit, and those are the plays that I think really put this squad on the map. And if SK can channel that, they've got something going.
I mean, despite getting zoned out of a whole bunch of waves early on, I think Zap's had a huge impact in this game. He's played these team fights really, really well. And Zap was always the traditional hunter sort of dude. He was not playing the Mercuries and the Vulcans like Snoopy was way back in the day. I mean, he's usually the guy who wants to stay at home and just slam that auto attack button. But this addition of the Morrigan to his repertoire, I think, has really transformed not just his play, but SK's as a whole.
Paul looking for trouble. NeilMah gonna walk up and kind of start it. Left side, Zapman could be in an issue with Panitom making the flank. Fire Giant still on the leash, by the way. As finally Belair lets it go. Fear No Evil sends Panitom up north, but the damage coming out from Sanguine could be bigger. Isolated is NeilMah. Belair also trying to zone. What a great job from the SK front line. All of their carries were in dire straits, and SK just steps up Belair and NeilMah and says, "You shall not hit our carries." Great job.
But that means that their carries were in a bad spot, particularly Zapman. Got caught out by Panitom. Good job by Zap, understanding that he was in trouble as soon as he got pulled. He needed to use that ultimate right away, but Panitom's certainly very happy with that trade. That opens up tier 1 tower for Sanguine. They're heading straight towards gold.
This could be a swing of momentum for Sanguine depending on how they play it. They're going to look for the fight. Haddix zoning out NeilMah, half HP support. Objective technically on the menu, Sanguine deciding if they're hungry or not.
This is a good time to fight, I think, if you're Sanguine. No beads on for Paul for 15, no beads for Zap for 100. You know his ultimate's down for a little bit longer. I think this is the right idea. When you're down by 9K, you don't get many fights like this.
No, I think this is one that Sanguine can't shy away from and take. Respect for SK and their lead is one thing, but you got to be able to go aggressive when the time is right. Sanguine relinquishing that opportunity. Zapman was stun Ronngyu. Tanky for sure, but not infallible. Ronngyu half HP. There's the blink in from Sam for Soccer, separating Haddix from the rest of the team. He gets hit twice by the Fear No Evil. Big boy ultimate, and Zapman gets the double kill. Fantastic play. You talk about impact, Ryan. He's creating a crater.
That was so sick, man. I mean, just the perfect timing, and Hera has such a bad time against gods like Amaterasu where that ultimate already unmissable. You can't juke it at all. You can't outrun it with your Hera Divine Shroud. So what do? You hold it. You hold that L, and you get the beads chased out by Sam, and then right after that, the Ama comes in and is able to make a big play. SK team fight flawlessly right there.
You're bringing up Zapman's edition of the Morrigan, and this is what I've been talking about all season. Was that Sam and Paul came onto the squad for Trifecta, and Zapman has been the, he's been the star of his teams for so many years, and he's got to kind of sit down and let the young kids kind of do it. Change up his play style a little bit, play a little bit more back so that Sam and Paul grab a lot of the spotlight, and he has not been shy about it. It's been a big part. Sanguine can interfere with this Fire Giant as SK leash it and look for the team fight. Sam for Soccer separates Haddix from the rest of his team.
Ronngyu channeling that ultimate. Might try and just use it to save Haddix. He does. Good shield provided to the sub-soul later, but Sam for Soccer's right there to clean it up.
Overhand smash, but Sheento answers back. NeilMah, gigantic belly flop. Zapman gets one. Top side, Zapman gets two. Panitom answers back, but Paul puts him down. Double kill again for Zapman, and Paul with the cleanup duty. 4 players on the bench. SK Gaming deciding where they're going to go. They have no solo or jungle, so it won't be the enhanced Fire Giant 31 minutes in. That is a tall mountain to climb. Tower will be the target.
I like this call. You've got your ADC there, and Paul and your Ullr that can clear this out. In fact, this is going to be Phoenix. Ronngyu doesn't back early enough. I don't know that he would have had a chance to defend this anyways, but he certainly doesn't now. That fight from Neil was just sick. I mean, he hits a massive flop straight on a bunch of carries, forces relics, gets them low, just puts them in a really bad spot in general. That allows Zap to come in and clean up. Under the radar this game for Neil, I'd say.
Yeah.
But he's had a great game.
I mean, 0, 1, and 10. 16 in total for SK. I'll take it. Especially considering NeilMah was down 3 levels at the beginning because of what he was trying to do, had to readjust the playstyle. Because Neil to this jungle harass that we see a lot, and Sanguine played around this 9 break. They stuck to the duo lane, they allowed Ronngyu to get bigger. He rotated over the solo side and kind of negated what Neil was trying to do. So Neil had to go back to the drawing board mid-game and change things. And all of a sudden, not only did he get back in the game, he's ahead of Ronngyu.
I mean, Sanguine has to figure out a way that they can stop these fights from being so SK leaning. And I think the big thing is to just make sure you know where Zapman is at all times. The last fight that went well is because Panitom found Zap before he stealthed.
Sanguine starting the fire. Leaving it alone. Over a half hour of play here. And SK Gaming are leading by not just 10K, but 12K. A significant margin. Sanguine being able to fight into it is impressive. Very impressive, if you want my opinion. At the end of the day, SK Gaming absolutely in the driver's seat. They are dictating the way this one goes. Fire Giant will be started one more time.
I gotta like this idea. Just let Belair and Paul two-man this and see if you can create a big enough zone to where no one comes in. Now, Ronngyu has spotted this out because of his positioning, but the idea is there. I think that's a smart call.
The rest of the team is going to look for Panitom. That man, number 17. 7, 2 and 7 for the carry on the Morrigan. What a wonderful game that man has had. It's funny, you know, the basketball analogy is the hard-hitting, run-gun guy that has to transition into this spot-up shooter. That's what it feels like Zapman's done. Kind of giving Paul and Sam the, all right, you do it, and I'll just clean up everything after the fact. He has certainly made the impact here, aging gracefully in the SMITE Pro League. One of the longer-term veterans here as he tries to make his way to Worlds one more time. Right side will be the focus. SK Gaming grouped up. 15,000 gold in their pockets above Sanguine. The tier 2 tower crumbles without a defense. Phoenix on the right side will be the target for SK Gaming.
This is where the Morrigan can struggle a little bit more. It's a little bit harder for her to get on top of these carries, but with Polynomicon, it's really easy for her to just kill the Phoenix.
Frenzy popped by Sanguine as they look for the counter engage. Front line for SK, wounded. HP 5. The buff of Fire Giant will help them out. While providing a lot of the damage, making sure those waves of minions have no impact whatsoever. The Heartseeker, the Jotun's Wrath. This is Mage Ullr, up and down. He's looking to delete players.
He's got the power to do it, especially on this Phoenix. Ronngyu blinks in, finds both carries with one knockup.
And that's it. Ronngyu down 25% with one combo. But this is Sanguine's fight to win. NeilMah in trouble. Panitom makes it even better. Zapman finds the kill out of the jungler, so it's 4-on-4. Netrioid low. We'll have to go all the way back. Good damage output to prevent the dive from Belair.
Zap still getting a little bit greedy, sticking around here at this rate, but no, Sheento doesn't have the range. What a huge Royal Assault Sheento had in order to just crush 3 people. I think he hit 3 people with that Hera one. It just changed the entire course of the fight. He did a lot of damage in one swing.
Hera's a strong pick. The range initiation from Argus is a nice look. Axe misses. All still focusing on the players. There's the stun, and gone. Belair, last hit off of the gutting of Zapman.
That was actually sick from Belair. He actually got in between Zap and Argus. Zap still used Aegis just to be sure, but Belair with the heads-up play. All the while, Sam's able to get mid-Phoenix. I mean, this is what SK does to you. They just kind of push and pull you around the map. I don't know what the heck Belair and Paul are doing here, but we realize it. And someone else realized it, and it was probably Neil. And Neil's probably saying, "What are you doing?
Look at him.
Get back here."
I love LAN time, and we've had SK at LAN all year because our Pro League plays here, but player cams are so important to me. And Neil, very animated. Paul, anything but. We were talking yesterday. Paul, 4-0-8, top player damage on his team in a build to just outright delete players. And you just kind of always leaning back, casual.
Yeah, he could be at the DMV. That's just the posture and general look he has on his face.
Even Zapman's like, leaned forward a little bit, ready for anything. And Paul's just like, yeah, I'll get him. We're up 20K. I'm 4-0-8. I guess I'll take this tower. I guess I'll pop my pot. Anybody want to fight me? I guess I'll kill him.
Yeah, he'll kill him, all right. He's got all the damage.
Yeah. Transcendence and the Heartseeker. That's going to do it to Haddix. Tanky Haddix, by the way. Sam for Soccer finishes off Panitom off screen in the middle lane, and it's a 5-on-4. Sam's low. Belair's low. Sanguine does have their targets. The left side Phoenix, the only one up. Minions filtering in, and that'll mean the Phoenix on the left side is free. And SK Gaming walking into the throne room here. Sam healing up mid lane.
They only have fire for 10 more seconds, so
they're waiting it.
This is a bit sketchy, I'd say.
Your coach, do you say go or no?
Absolutely, especially when you've got that damage. Belair eliminates Haddix, and Ronngyu is doing good damage on the back line.
There's trouble as Sam takes out Netrioid as well. 4 players versus 2, 4 players versus 1 as Paul deletes Sheento, and the Titan will have the same fate. Down it goes, and SK Gaming, game number 1.
So here I am saying, Hera's going to do way more damage in the late game than an Ullr can. Paul goes 0-0-0 through the first 25 minutes of the game, and then finishes very top of the player damage charts at 5-0. Paul's Ullr, a different breed than most other Ullrs, but it wasn't just him. I think Sam really turned it up in the late game. Right there, he breaks a siege open by winning the 1v1 against Panitom in mid. Panitom never got his ult off That's a huge difference. I mean, Sam lives at 15% health, 10% health. Typhoon will do that. It's just a little bit of an unfortunate situation. Panitom just never got the ball rolling in that game because that backline dive for SK was so strong.
This was, you know, the kind of the way SK Gaming draws it up. Sanford Soccer facilitating whatever lane needs it. Get Belair ahead, then show some love to Zapman. Zapman able to kind of win the 1v1. Nobody look at Paul till later on. And then Paul delivers the goods, brings it to a 1-game lead for SK Gaming. We'll be back after this.
Thanks for sticking with us here as we're approaching game number 2 as SK Gaming defeated Sanguine in game number 1. Still joining me on the desk is going to be Zeros here. And what a performance specifically out of Zapman and the rest of his teammates on SK Gaming.
Yeah, all of them played well, but it's kind of what I thought was going to happen this game kind of happened. Like, you have two immobile carries on Sanguine, the Hera and the Freya. And if Zapman on the Morrigan can get to those, and then he used the Amaterasu transformation a lot, what are they really going to do, you know? Like, so hard for them to do any work in this game.
We saw a little bit of action in this long lane from both onto Netrioid and onto Zapman, but that seems to be the Zapman special. He gets focused early on, and then he just becomes stronger, almost like a Super Saiyan at that point, ending the game at 8-2. A lot of transformations on this Amaterasu for Zapman's Morrigan.
Yeah, like super solid transformation, like through the whole game pretty much. Also, did you see that Paul had like 32k play damage on Ullr, so far above everyone else in the game? Like, it's crazy how he pulls these numbers on like what many people consider an early game hunter, right?
He's just so confident. Even when he was chasing Netrioid's Freya on the right side Phoenix, you could tell he was trying to line up that hail of arrows at the very end of it. The confidence is spewing from not only Zapman, but also Paul. A lot of action that we were talking about on the left side of the map. Netrioid seemed to struggle early game on this Freya.
Yeah. That's kind of not what you want from your Freya as well. I feel like Freya late game now not as good as it has been after all the nerfs, and like she can still be really good early game, but she loses out early game here. So what does the Freya really give you here?
And this team fight at 21 minutes, SK Gaming only lose Zapman. They get a full-on deicide after the fact. They get 8,000 gold of a lead 4 minutes after this fight and continue that pressure. It was very difficult for Sanguine to come back after getting deicided here.
Yeah, for sure. Here, actually, the Freya kind of did chunk the Humbas there. You said she doesn't do a lot late game, but that was a lot of damage. But still, it's just not enough. And like, when you fight in these jungles against Zapman on this Morrigan, like, he gets one good initiation on the backline. I feel like the fight's just over.
And the confidence here, double Amaterasu ultimate. Like, how are you going to survive if you're the backline? Freya or also the Hera couldn't survive. I believe SK Gaming, they get a 2-0 there. They get the Fire Giant almost immediately afterwards, and they get the game.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, Freya can at least, if she gets gone on, she can at least go up into the air for a little bit and survive. But like Hera, you have two Amaterasus ulting you. You're not going to live from that.
So is there something that Sanguine could have done better in game number 1 to avoid that kind of pressure?
I don't know. I think it mostly comes down to draft here, honestly. It's just hard. Like, as I said, two immobile characters against this kind of comp, it's just so hard to work. Like, if you think about it, Hera's so good late game. I have her as one of my favorite mages late game. But like, when you're against a comp like this, it's so hard to like make anything happen.
A good play from Sanford Soccer, winning this 1v1 in middle and made it easier for the rest of his teammates to get that left side Phoenix, ultimately ending that game. Took a little bit longer than expected, but SK Gaming ended it cleanly. So how would you rather see Sanguine transition in game number 2?
Something have to change with the draft, I think. Maybe take away the Morrigan, I feel like. Okay. I don't know how used they are to play against the Morrigan. Not a lot of teams play it, so it's just annoying to play against in general, I think. And it kind of did shut down the comp this game, I feel like. So probably take away the Morrigan.
So game number 1, Sanguine was second pick after this loss. Do you take first pick if you're Sanguine here?
Yeah, I would. Like on first pick, you can ban comfort picks on the SK side, right? They can take away the Morrigan and maybe the Ullr or the Amaterasu as well. Something we didn't talk a lot about. But we have Belair on the Amaterasu here. He's up against an Osiris. He's winning the early game. He goes into the late game and plays a god that is just so much better in the late game as well. So.
Yeah, at that point, why even pick the Osiris, realistically, right? So either way, though, if you're Sanguine on the first pick slot, like, what do you ban away? Because it feels like SK Gaming could almost run anything in their composition, like the Amaterasu, like the Ullr. What lane are you trying to shut down the most, Zeus?
Back on PK, our stress we had against SK was like to just force ban Paul out, but that was back when Hebo wasn't mad. We banned Hal, Ullr, Hebo pretty much. But now he's kind of improved his god pool a bit, Paul here. We've seen him play Merlin, he's placed Persephone as well, so I don't think you can ban him out anymore. So I think it's take away what we're doing well from SK last game, which was like the Morrigan, the Amaterasu, and the Ullr maybe. Something
we did see early game actually was the way the buffs got traded out 1-for-1, where SK Gaming, they received the blue buff invade, only sacrificing their purple buff on the left side of the map, but then they also got the speed buff after the fact. They didn't feel like Sanguine wanted to stretch for that red buff. Do you think that we see a little bit of a switch up?
Yeah, probably. That always comes down to like drafts, and like there's a lot of mind games going on at level 1 too, right? Because like unless you have a lot of wards level 1, which you usually don't, because you don't have enough money to invest too much in warding in level 1. It's always hard. It's mind games, and then obviously I think SK is the more like experienced team, so they're probably gonna have a better idea what exactly they want to do at level 1.
Speaking of mind games, going to be a lot of mind games as we approaching picks and bans in game number 2. SK Gaming are up 1-0 currently, with Sanguine picking that first pick. Very important, it feels, for these teams.
Yeah, and also choosing first pick, as we said, can take away comfort picks from SK, taking away the Morrigan straight away. Great call, I think.
Persephone and Isis are probably going to be the bans for SK Gaming. With another throwaway ban, wouldn't be surprised if they probably take away the Amaterasu, which would leave Sanguine with maybe some global pressure on the Thor, but it's actually Sanguine that take away that option instead.
Yeah, they're doing exactly what I wanted them to do, though. Sure, they could have first picked Amaterasu for themselves, but maybe they have something else in mind.
I'm thinking for Sanguine's draft and their composition, like who they really thrive off in the end of the day, it's got to be Sheento in middle. You got to make sure that in mid he's comfortable, but when you're dealing with an Ullr in mid or any other hunter that Paul can probably throw at you, what do you pick that counters a hunter in middle?
I actually think he was against the Ullr playing the Hera last game, which is a pretty bad matchup for Hera. But I think he did fine. I don't think it was the Ullr necessarily punishing him. It was like whenever he got to the team fights, he was getting dove by Batz, Amaterasu, and then another Amaterasu from the Morrigan transformation. So
do we see a Morrigan first pick now with Sanguine not banning that away?
Yeah, they did ban it away.
Oh, sorry, they did ban that away. Okay, so maybe instead they're going to go for a Hun Batz, more team fighting pressure, because San for Soccer on that Hun Batz seemed like he was really controlling these team fights.
Yeah, for sure. Batz is always a solid jungler. Like he kind of does it all. I hardly see anyone banning Batz though. I don't think he's that good. There's so many good junglers right now, in my opinion. So I don't see Batz getting banned or like maybe getting picked early, but we'll see.
We're seeing the resurgence of Erlang Shen so far in the placement matches. Not too much Naja though, and I think between Panitom and even San for Soccer, wouldn't be surprised if either of them take this one away. But this is a surprising ban.
Isis is open here. I would expect Sanguine. I feel like Sanguine has been playing kind of meta pick, so I would, that's the Isis.
It feels like SK Gaming are definitely giving this away with a plan, with a gameplay in mind of how to counter the Isis. Last time against the Isis and the King Arthur, it was Belair drafting the Camisots, and normally against Isis, you would think that Osiris is a good soul lane matchup because of the Judgment Tether mitigating the damage, Lord of the Afterlife with the anti-healing, but I think that Belair's dive potential on Camisots is effective either way.
Yeah, sure. Kind of weird though. They must really not care too much about Isis because they banned Xing, which I don't think matters too much. So I guess it's probably going to be Paul on the Ullr mid again. So I guess he's just super confident in that matchup against Isis in mid. But I'm not necessarily sure if that matchup is that good against Ullr because Isis has so much push potential. She's also really good at fighting. So yeah, we'll see.
It feels like maybe SK Gaming are not going to focus too much on the Isis early game. So they want to focus out in the long lane to help Zapman get comfortable in that early game. And if they don't have to worry about a Xing Wei, then they can remain aggressive. And even if they don't get the kill, you can still be punishing whoever is in that long lane. So Netrioid going to have to figure out a less than comfort ideal pick.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if we've only seen Netrioid playing hunters or magical hunters. I wonder if, because like Isis, you can definitely flex her to dual lane as well.
Sure.
Maybe he plays Isis. Maybe this could be Isis dual lane. I would assume. It feels more like a Sheento god to me, but you never know.
This Naja pick, do you think this is going to go in the jungle with the Terra locked in as well?
Should be, right. Terra solo could work, but I feel like pressure in solo is kind of important in this meta, so I don't think we see a lot of Terra solo anymore, even though I think it probably has potential, because you can block creep waves in the start as well with her too and stuff like that. So maybe there's some strat they've been working on. I mean, there is like, they don't want to go down to the loser bracket here, so maybe they do have some strat with Terra solo.
And normally when you pick Naja, you're expecting like heavy burst damage waiting for you underneath, like maybe Ra, Thoth, Poseidon, something bursty like that, like Cuckoo. Not necessarily Isis though. It feels like more little 2v2 early game scuffles.
Yeah, Isis though, she has potential to do a lot of damage when you land too. If you place your ult under there, you time the Spirit Ball correctly when they land. There's still a lot of damage. I think Isis is more than enough for the Nash, for the follow-up on the Nash ult to strive. So I think Isis is fine.
Jormungandr and Osiris are there to wrap up the bans for SK Gaming. Sanguine take a shot at both Poseidon and the Pele. Looking at gods against Paul and Sam. A lot of mobility Sam prefers in some of his picks. The Dodgy still available. Batz is still available. We haven't really seen too much Dodgy in this placement match.
No, we haven't. Dai would be pretty good, I guess. Like Isis, no CC immunity in her kit. Same with Terra, right? But it's gonna be Raijin. That must be Zapman or Raijin. He's played a bit of Raijin lately, so.
But it was Raijin kind of the start, I think, for Paul back in the day. But then again, when he already has the Ullr locked in, we're expecting that to go in the hands of Paul. So long lane Raijin gonna deal with the passive Hachiman there. Rather aggressive solo laner locked in for Sanguine on the tier. Hasn't really dictated who is going to be support or solo lane between that Xing or the Achilles.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure we've seen a lot of Xing support, and I think it does really well in support, so I would assume it's Xing support. Then again, Isis is pretty good against Xing. She's immune to knockups, right? And that's like Xing's main CC, like a blink and up to his 2 with knockups, and Isis can just wing gust away from that, so.
Hold up. Serqet locked in actually as well. So where is all of these gods going? It could be Serqet, support Xing solo, Achilles jungle. What are you expecting out of SK game 2?
I feel like it must be Serqet jungle here. Serqet really good against Isis too, right? Anti-heal. Isis can't heal from her ult. Also really good at picking off Isis. Isis really immobile. Serqet with blink and get to Isis super easily. I think it's Serqet jungle, Xing support, and Achilles solo.
Achilles solo would definitely make a lot of sense here. Up against the tier, you need a little bit of sustain for yourself. Xing has some sustain with the HP 5 that he gets from his passive as well, so very hard to really pinpoint exactly where SK going in this draft. Which draft are you preferring though in game number 2?
I mean, there is an Isis or Sanguine, but I think if Sam for Soccer can have a good game on this Serqet, because he has such good ganks. As I said, really easy to pick off an Isis with Blink Serqet, so easy to get to her immobile mage. Then also Tyr relies a lot of his sustain, right? So I think she has really good ganks on the Tyr and soul lane as well, and then you have Achilles to follow up with an execute. So I think if Sam for Soccer can get going in the early game, I'll definitely give it to SK.
A lot of sustain on the side of Sanguine. You got the Isis, you got the Terra for AoE sustain, and then you got individual sustain from both the tier and the Naja. How does SK Gaming try to build around that?
We will definitely see an upgraded Ankh, I think, probably on Sam for Soccer. Not Sam for Soccer, on NeilMah, I think on the Xing, I would assume. He probably, he's gonna go Blink Ankh, I'm pretty sure. So that's gonna be so good against the Terra. She procs the Ankh, upgraded Ankh gonna be procced on the whole team of Sanguine pretty much. So
Divine Ruin maybe even for Zapman's Raijin.
Sure.
Very good with all the damage over time. So do you prefer the skill set of SK Gaming over Sanguine, or do you prefer the AoE healing from Sanguine?
As I said, I think if Sam for Soccer gets off to a good start here on the Serqet, I think he can run this game, and I think SK is just gonna be too far ahead for Sanguine to be able to fight back. But if they can hold their own Sanguine in the early game, they do have really good team fights, like Isis, Terra, 2 of the top team fight characters in the game right now. And then you have the Tyr, Nasha, Hachiman to follow up. So could go either way, but I have to give it to SK.
Out of Sanguine, who has to step it up? Never mind, hold that thought. We're going straight into game number 2. Take it away, casters.
Ain't nothing to be holding here. SK Gaming taking on Sanguine. Tom Battinger on the cast alongside Ryan Aggro Bailey. And of course, the absolute best in the business, Doug LeBlanc.
Can you believe that Pecky's had to put him in a chokehold and subdue him for set 2 in order, just because Pecky's wanted to be on the camera?
The audacity. Glad to have Doug back. Glad to have you back, Doug. Good job, Doug. Excited
What's he
for this.
supposed to do? What do you mean?
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Game number 1. SK Gaming and Sanguine kind of dance for a while, but then SK really takes off. This is an interesting draft. Zapman on the Raijin. Now, you hate Raijin.
That's not true.
You told me all these bad things about Raijin.
Like what, Tom?
You said he smells bad. You said you just don't like him.
Okay. All right. Well, I think he's an interesting pick here to bring balance to SK's draft. They felt like they needed a little bit of magic damage and a little bit of AoE.
Okay.
Raiju provides both of those.
I mean, jokes aside, you've said that Raijin's not your favorite mage right now. Why? What about Raijin kind of turns you off?
He's a little bit too late game, I think. His early game's pretty weak, but when you put him in the long lane, that weakness goes away because you get to late game faster. And he did just get buffed very recently and got a lot of his damage back on the 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a good amount of Raijin moving into the World Championships. I do think that he's pretty decent right now.
One of the characters that I think is underselected is Tian. Very happy to see NeilMah pick this guy up. I think that ball could get grabbed by Panitom. Sam for soccer. Prime rebounds territory. And the Isis dealing damage. Not enough. Paul's able to get out of there. Woo. Isis getting through. That's always worth the conversation. But NeilMah on the Xing is where I started. I think this character is very, very good right now.
I agree. I mean, it is just a pick that brings enough at all points of the game that you are pretty happy with it. In the early game, he's beefy and unkillable. The late game, his ultimates completely change the way that the team fights go. He's safe. He's got 6 CC. Setup is really strong. It's a hard guy to play around.
Furious Howl, Furious Roar also does a big deal, lowering the basic attack damage of players. Also a great applier of Spear of the Magus. Shout out to Raffer, who kind of started that idea. And that'll send Haddix into a fearless combo there. The 2v1 working out for Tier. And, you guys know how I feel about Naja. Always a relevant character in my mind. Naja and Sheento here, I think, are going to be a big part of, if Sanguine wins this game, they're going to be thanking their jungle mid combo for sure.
This is kind of your team comp here, Tom. I mean, they're just missing something like a Thanatos. They got Tier, Naja, Isis.
I do love most of these characters. Terra, not always the character I think of. But, yeah, the right side of the map, I'm enjoying it. Not just for fun, but I think these characters also bring a ton to the game right now. Obviously, everybody and their sister has had a conversation about Isis. Tier 2, knock up back, thank you. We see you doing your thing. But the Naja is very important to me here. I think Panitom's ability to rotate the map is very important for Sanguine's wins. When Panitom can be omnipresent, and you see kills on the left, right, center coming up from Panitom, that's when Sanguine are at their best, when he's able to help all the lanes. And Naja is a character that can do that very well, especially with early speed boots.
I like the call. You just really need to be there to set up for pretty good damage coming from Sheento. This Isis is going to have to do it, but in the mid lane, he's in trouble. 6 Spirit Balls, still not enough to save his life. Neil gets first blood. That's courtesy of Paul, man. He got the beads earlier on in the mid lane when we tuned in, and then they punished them again with a good initiation, this time by Sam for Soccer.
And on the timer, SK Gaming go for that play because they know they're going to want the red buff invade. And they're going to go ahead and Get denied. Sanguine did a good job of getting there first. Easy peasy. About 1,000 gold up in SK Gaming. That's much more than the first blood bounty.
Haddix has Blink. I think Belair is too healthy
Yeah.
at this point.
But if you're
Not
gonna
if he
walk
takes
off
the
the
minions.
tower.
Not if he tanks the minions.
Nice ultimate. Get out. Ultimate will miss. Haddix just trying to catch up. No
Belair
boots, so
shouldn't
it's
do
gonna be
that. Hold
slow. And there's the dashes. Belair can get out. Not if he walks towards Haddix. Stun is strong. Sam for soccer around the corner. Haddix trying to get it. And as soon as he sees Sam,
Good.
Haddix will walk away.
Haddix does some things well as Zap gets
Whoa.
soloed on the left-hand side. Netrioid with a big power spike. He backed for boots. Zapman had not backed, and so he's pretty weak. And Netrioid takes advantage nicely. But Haddix does a good job of staying out of combat dodge range, but then gets stunned right as he switches stance. He needs to do a little bit of a better job of spacing there. Almost had Belair.
4 players defending the blue buff. Haddix here. Ronngyu sniffing up, but Belair wants no part of it. Zapman getting soloed by international players. That's nothing new.
Peanut butter and jelly, man.
You know what?
What you can expect.
Let's take a look at it.
would have to.
Zapman getting soloed by Netrioid. Left side play. All right, not quite soloed. Panitom
okay.
shows up. Sash is good. And the Netrioid just...
Zap must stick around here just a little bit too long. I mean, there's no reason to be this far up when you know that Netrioid's got his ultimate up. Doesn't try and dash. Good attempt, but Netrioid's able to get it done.
Clean play there while we were on the replay. Sam for soccer and Belair both dive. Haddix. And so a kill there for SK Gaming on the short side. That'll keep the 1,000 gold lead in tow. No ultimate available for NeilMah just yet, level 4. So the turnaround play good for Panitom.
Didn't use the blink on the right side for Sam, so that's good news. Did cost him his last breath, but that's what you'd expect in that lane is that as soon as Serqet comes over and uses last breath, it's pretty good. And again, Zapman doing the same thing we saw from him last game. If Sanguine are going to push the wave really hard, let's just bring it to my tower. Make sure Netrioid has a long way to go if he wants to stay safe.
Belair dancing around that fearless range rather nicely. Achilles is not a character he is unfamiliar with, clearly. That said, the fearless will catch him. This is a fun matchup to watch, actually. We had a lot of boring kind of Amaterasu versus Ullr. Nobody's going to do anything, but this is a nice rough and tumble solo lane. I'm here for it.
It's because they both have a whole lot of healing, so they know that they can withstand a little bit of punishment.
I'm down!
More so than most other solo lanes could.
I love to see it. Show me the fight. Show me the dance, you know? NeilMah gonna get beads out of Panitom. Pancake flip will miss. Paul and Sam here trying to defend the red buff as Sanguine are the ones getting aggressive. Spirit ball from a distance isolates Sam for soccer. And all of a sudden, Sanguine have to walk on out.
Good secure by Paul, using that range that Ullr has to secure red. Sheento is definitely behind in this lane. Paul's top of the net worth charts, up about 600 gold. Of course, almost all of that courtesy of the first blood, but still not a guaranteed lead for him necessarily against a pretty early game character in Isis. Good attempt by Sanguine, but better defense by SK.
Haddix, I see you trying to get the step back. Fearless. Belair a little bit too slippery for that just yet. Mid lane, Ronngyu flipped and stunned. Sheento providing the long-range spirit ball to keep Paul at bay. Ronngyu, though, doesn't get the memo and wants to stay aggressive. Paul switches stances, gets silenced. Spirit ball will miss. Long-range combo. Ronngyu is the right you. Oh my goodness, that is your support player, and Sheento better buy the man a coffee.
That was sick, man. That's just a support instinct. At some point, you got to be ready to put your body on the line. Shell was up, so could have used Shell, but why waste the relic cooldown?
Yep.
Use the big beefy HP bar. Nicely done by Ronngyu.
I love it, man. Ronngyu has been a fun guy to watch. He got to talk to him in our pregame interview. Good mindset. Panitom right now. Beads, turns around, picks up one with the ultimate. Sam will land, and who's at the bottom? It's Isis, baby. And Ronngyu gets the last hit off of the assist of the jungler. Sam for soccer in the ground, 1-1-1 for Sam.
I mean, that should have been a clean 1-0 in SK Gaming's favor. Panitom had no beads. Sam goes for the full combo. If he just throws Panitom into Neil's ultimate, then Panitom never gets to play the game. He gets auto attacked during the spin. He takes a lot of extra damage. He's dead. Good turnaround by Panitom, but a little bit of a miscommunication there between Sam and Neil.
Forward. You're going to be in trouble. Sheento here, providing some damage.
That wall prevents the knockup. That doesn't happen is Zapman going aggressive on this side of the map. Has Jade Emperor's crown and realizes that, yeah, he gets to bully now in this lane as soon as that happens. Jade Emperor's pretty strong item, and Netrioid with a much slower build of going for this Devourer's Gauntlets. It kind of compounds.
Jade Emperor's crown, a big part of it. Communication also a big part of it. Zapman goes, as a party in mid, I can look for the 1v1. Now it's a 3v2. Panitom here. Big damage coming out of Zapman.
Ooh, okay, Zap.
Panitom goes
That
down.
was clean. 4 for 4 on those Taiko drum shots. Now Ronngyu in trouble. Sam for soccer right back into the action. Even with a little bit of healing, it's not going to be enough.
Ooh, the Isis ultimate saves him for the moment. Double stun is strong. Paul can't find the basic. Ronngyu around the corner. And oh my goodness.
I really didn't think that was going to work there, but with that damage mitigation from the Circle of Protection, couldn't get the heal in that moment because of Last Breath, but the mitigation on Circle of Protection still counts against that true damage. That's huge. Now, that being said, on the right-hand side, Haddix gets soloed by Belair during all that. That opens up this tier 1 tower, and Belair kind of having his way in this lane.
Rongyu's looked real clean so far, both on saving himself, saving his teammates. We'll see if he can save the set. Sanguine right now down 2,000 gold and down a game. It'd be tough for them. Of course, this is the top side of the bracket, so
Yep.
Sanguine does get a second chance should they drop this series versus SK Gaming. NeilMah's been very, very aggressive on the Xing. That's exactly the way you got to play it. Big damage as well. Gonna go into standard build here, boosting the Thebes. I'm very curious to see what happens after the Thebes, though. I want to see if he subscribes to the Raffer train of thought. He is ahead, and so you could look to help out Zapman a little bit.
I don't think you need to, though, because normally that Renegades were doing that when they had Hera in mid, who's not a good Spear of the Magus character. Raijin's a great Spear of the Magus character, one of the best in the entire game.
Fair.
So you don't. I think it'd be a mistake for Neil to go for the Spear. Just let Zap get it himself.
Let NeilMah stay tanky so he can play those hyper-aggressive gameplay styles. Paul's been swinging so far. Level 12 on the Ullr. Looks like he's going to go the same build as the last time. And you were talking about Relic Dagger being core on Serqet. Second item, how about that?
I don't mind it. It's early movement speed. It lets you just utilize your base damage early on. Probably going to go straight into Transcendence from here, and then start getting your power that way. Don't have to worry about getting Pen as early because your 1 Prot Treads, your ultimate is true damage, so it's not affected by protections. So you don't have to worry about the mace tree quite as much. And this Panitom can kind of do the same thing. His 1 Prot Treads, so you don't have to worry too much about Pen. Void Shield is, of course, penetration in a way. It's an aura reduction, which means that Haddix and Netrioid will benefit from it as well.
Belair chasing down Haddix. Flip will create enough distance to allow that to just be the situation. So we're past the 10-minute mark by about 3. 6 kills in total. SK Gaming owning 2/3 of them. And still that 2,000 gold lead staying true. Sanguine, need to get aggressive. I want to see Panitom be the aggressor at some point. He's kept in line with Sam for soccer. He has Sheento in the mid lane if they want to jump on Paul. Raijin could be a target as well. Raijin's a character that Naja does very well with. Sash in and ult to follow. Right side, Haddix going to be under duress thanks to Sam for soccer and Belair. Link forward.
Nice.
That avoids a lot of the damage.
A little bit of an over-aggression there, I think, by Sam, but he's already got 10% CDR, doesn't even use the blink. So it doesn't matter too much. And it secured a blue buff invade again, keeping Haddix even further behind. So with the blue buff in mind, I think that's well worth it. Another oopsie, mid lane.
Big whiff.
Paul does a whiff though. That's good poke damage.
Rarely does Paul miss on the Ullr. And Paul very much, you know, talking about how he kind of had a slump this year, stepping back into himself. This is one of those momentum moments where you go, all right, Paul, just do it again. All right, same character, same items, just do it again. Game number 1 was fantastic. Paul gets his beats chased out by Panitom and finds safety over the wall. Rotation out of Zapman is Ronngyu down to half HP. Ultimate could be coming. There's 1, there's 2. And we'll stay at 2 as Ronngyu is able to back off. Terra ultimate is good. And that negates a lot of what Zapman was looking for. Panitom's here and has ultimate available. Ring bounce is strong. Netrioid gets 1. And the runaway Sam will be good. But Paul off screen takes care of the support.
Sheento almost next. Belair will clean it up with that combat dodge. Sam for Soccer escapes from his left-hand side. Does have ultimate, but a little bit too low to go in, even if Neil were to start setting him up. This is the problem when your soul laner gets this big, and you're playing something like Isis that usually gets pressure in mid. You're a little bit behind. Belair is huge right now, level 15, and just playing with a bunch of confidence, a bunch of momentum. Achilles still pushes these leads really, really well. I mean, teamfight recap's pretty close in damage overall. I'm surprised it was even that much damage from SK. It just felt like they needed to have it because of all the healing from Sanguine. No spear yet for Zapman. Instead, he's gone for the Divine Ruin, which is a good call. There's so much sustain on the other side. I'm kind of surprised Paul doesn't go Brawlers in that Jotun's Wrath slot. Seems like he'll get it a little bit later on.
Yeah, I think it might be here in this spot. But everything we've been talking about Belair, saying he's a guy that plays well with the lead, give him characters like this. You know, the Amaterasu works out. I mean, she's Amaterasu, but I want to see the Achilles, the Tears, the characters that can just be a bully, like a big frontline, almost jungle-esque character. Achilles certainly fits that bill. Going to be looking for a lot of that aggression. 4K is the lead as SK slowly but surely inch on up. Now 9 kills, and SK still maintaining control of 2/3 of them. Haddix will have an impact a little bit later, I believe. But now, that's where Sanguine are going to go for the Gold's Fury. SK know about it, but the circle of protection comes down, and it's good enough. Zapman sees a couple of players grouped up and gets excited, but largely has no impact on the ultimate. The fight after the fact could be big as Panitom barely escapes, and that's going to confirm the kill onto the jungler. But a jungle for a Gold Fury is exactly what Sanguine were looking for. The lead cut down just a little bit.
That's not all they're going to lose, Tom. I mean, there's no way they only lose Panitom. This mid tier 1 is half HP. I'm surprised SK is being so scared around this. This is absolutely guaranteed. Pyromancer's already down, so that's not an option. But I think you're okay with this trade.
NeilMah, though, blinks over the wall, finds one of the ultimate. Sheento in trouble, and NeilMah going to continue. Big stun coming out for the mid lane mage. Here comes Ronngyu trying to assist, while Haddix, fearless, power cleave into Paul, and Paul shoved up north. The rest of the team trying to come to Paul's help, and Belair getting tossed around by Haddix. Zapman playing it safe on the left side, so that will cut short what SK were looking for. All in all, the lead returns to what it was pre-Gold Fury after SK get a siege in the mid lane tower.
That was close, though, for Sheento. Poor guy has been on the run all day long. I mean, he has not gotten a chance to set his feet in this set whatsoever. The Hera game was able to kind of skate through the early game as everyone was on both sides. Not a whole lot of aggression early on in that one. Here, though, I mean, it has been all pressure on Sheento all game long. Another blink in by NeilMah, looking for Sheento in particular.
Red buff secured by Sanguine. Worth noting, too, just because of how active these teams have been in the enemy's jungle. Both SK and Sanguine have been very red buff minded. Nothing that Panitom can get over here, so he'll just look for the purple. Zapman comes around the corner and watches as his buff goes away. So as we approach the mid game, or the end of the mid game, the beginning of the late game, if you will, Still early, I guess. So amorphous from game to game. There isn't a timer that you can say, all right, we're in this stage. But Sanguine, without no tier 1, they're shying away from the laning phase for sure. But where do they go? I mean, you can't just pull the Fire Giant. So you've got to find an opportunity. And SK are not really giving the opportunity to the opponent.
I mean, Sanguine right now have to look for a counter engage. I mean, Panitom has Blink now, so a Blink Naja ult can get it going. Haddix still has Blink, so maybe he can try and find someone. But relics are up. Both Ullr and Raijin can do their damage from a fairly safe amount of distance, so it can be difficult at times. You're really looking for Zapman to start his percussive storm. That animation locks you for so long. Yeah, you can cancel it in beads, you can cancel it in Aegis, but Zap is not a Raijin main. You know, it's not a god he plays all the time. So you should be able to catch him in those moments. And if I'm Panitom, I'm just waiting for Zapman to start using the 1, and I'm going over the Blink right away.
Haddix is upset. Belair still with the 2-level lead and bullying Haddix the entire time. As he should be. That is SK Gaming's kind of goal over there in the Soul Lane. Give the young man a little bit of a lead and see what he can do with it. And Belair has absolutely shown up and done what he's supposed to do here for SK Gaming. In our 3rd day of placements. It's Wednesday, baby.
First Donk upgraded now for NeilMah, which is a big power spike against the Terra team. That is a huge difference maker in what that Earth and Fury is going to bring you. Paul's going to have to back here. He's pretty much out of mana. And Sam's working towards an Erendite. Not a Transcendence in that 3rd slot like I thought it would be. He goes Heartseeker, which does scale with power, so a lot of times you want to build it alongside other power items, but you're still guaranteed to do 3% of their max HP as extra physical damage. It can work. I do want to see a little bit more power as the build develops, but the Erendite on top of it, I love Erendite on Serqet. As soon as you ult someone, that 2nd tick of damage, because the first one's applied like right away, the 2nd tick of damage is procced by it gets the Erendite proc, so you get a huge burst right away. And a lot of times carries will want to save their Aegis to the back half of Last Breath to see if they're going to survive.
Right.
And that can mess with them a little bit.
Yeah, nice little change there. Erendite's a fun item. High power is always fun. An interesting proc for sure. Primal Fury up.
Yeah, that's a good time to fight. I mean, Paul just finished a Titan's Bane. He's going to do basically true damage to these tanks at this point.
Haddix could be one of them. Belair going to grab him, but Zapman's stunned out. Good job there by Ronngyu one more time, keeping the enemy at bay. Primal Fury started here by SK Gaming. The rest of Sanguine close. Not Panitom, though. Panitom staying in mid lane. Halfway done with the Primal Fury, and this looks like it's all SKs. Ronngyu too far away. SK Gaming get that freer than I would have liked. Neil did a good job of zoning. Does Sanguine have a way in there?
It's tough. I mean, Haddix has to back because he's so low off of just a little bit of poke damage from Zapman. No magic defense whatsoever in the kit for Haddix, so I like Zapman's identification that I can half health him with one combo,
right,
and put him down low enough that he really can't be in the fight. It's a tough spot for Sanguine. I feel like that SK is doing a really good job of just posing question after question to them and testing the communication structure, making sure that Sanguine have a coherent call they'll all follow.
Well, Sanguine's coherent call that they will all follow is Fire Giant. They do have the Isis for confirmation, but they're absolutely going to light the flame that brings SK Gaming to the center. Ronngyu shows up, and Sanguine will ultimately peel back from the Fire Giant. But I like that aggression. Sanguine 8k down, 23 minutes in. They clearly understand that they've got to do something. You can't sit on your hands and wait for this lead to get larger and larger. Haddix controlled, Spirit Ball off the mark. Belair still dealing with Haddix, stunned underneath the tower.
Hello, Zapman dashes in after Ronngyu. Shell's not going to save his life. Tycho Drums claims it.
Panitom Panitom within a threshold, but Paul takes him down. Haddix is able to answer back, but Sam, Thor, Soccer, he grabs one, Paul grabs the other, and it's gonna be Belair grabbing the third. Decisive as everybody sits on down. SK Gaming running up mid. Tier 2 tower, gone. Phoenix gonna be gone. Is that it?
It might be. I mean, Rongyu's up in 10, but that's about it. You've got a wave here, a couple towers on the side lanes. I don't know. SK might decide they just want to try and go for the end. It's a matter of...
Look at Paul. Look at Paul.
Doesn't have an ultimate.
Paul's leaning towards it. They're going into the throne room. 24 minutes of play, and SK Gaming are already done with it. Paul takes care of Ronngyu. All the players sit down. Run, SK. This one goes to SK Gaming 2-0.
Panitom up, but not in time. Get Sam for Soccer, but SK Gaming move on the winner's side. Sanguine drop her to the lower bracket.
That one was more indicative, I think, of what the fans have expected out of SK Gaming. Just very, very clean, straight up and down. We know what's going to happen, and the game's over before 25 minutes. SK talked to them earlier. We're like, look, man, we're taking placements very seriously. A lot of these teams are very good, but we are looking at Worlds, and that's the way a team looking at it plays.
I mean, they played really well. I think that Zapman in that last team fight is the perfect example of sometimes your job is to die in the team fight. I mean, he does a lot of damage, dashes in, and then gets all his damage off. I mean, at that point, he has to wait 6-7 seconds before he's able to do damage again anyways, but baits his life even longer with good relic usage, pulls Sanguine into a bad spot, and all the focus is on Zapman. It lets Paul, Sam, Belair all run wild in that team fight. That's a really good understanding of how to team fight at a top level, and how even as a carry, sometimes your job is to just lose it.
Strong stuff there as well. You know, anytime the team fight goes down and you see everybody's name show up, you know, that's because it was important watching how that team fight broke down. There was a player on the left side, right side, just complete control of what Sanguine wanted to do. Everybody shows up, puts them down, and there's no stagger here. That's what allows them to walk down mid.
Impressive stuff from SK. I mean, this is a team that has really, really strong potential. I don't know that they should necessarily be thought of in the same category as Splice, Rival, Renegades. I don't think anyone is really in that category besides those three teams. But this is a team that can certainly compete at the world stage. Whoever they would play against, if they are to make it out of placements, either Rival or Splice, would certainly have to take them very, very seriously. Otherwise, they would get upset.
SK Gaming take this one 2-0. We've got one more match on the docket. We'll be back after this.
Thanks for sticking with us here. Still day 3 of the placements. SK Gaming just finding the victory 2-0 over Sanguine, advancing to the upper bracket finals where they just need to win one more. This time a best of 5 to qualify towards Hi-Res Expo. And joining me at the desk is Zeros. SK Gaming, what a dominating performance out of them.
Yeah, I don't know. They just look like a way better team this set, to be honest. Sanguine not out yet, though. Still have to go through the loser bracket, but looking rough when you get this handled by a team.
Definitely, but they will be facing off against Hype Unit Console Team, another strong team that was able to dismantle the Hype Unit minor league team, so we'll see that matchup in the future. But going off of SK's performance, you were kind of talking about Paul's performance at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it's just like, I feel like his target practice for Paul. He goes to Jotuns as well, Transcendence, Joseph, 30% CDR on the Ullr. I feel like he's like the whole game is pretty much standing in front of the enemy mid tower, just lining up his shots, you know, on the support or wherever. Was super close of getting kills at some points as well. Like, just too good at this god, I think.
And also another unorthodox pick and build coming out of Zapman on the Raijin, building into that Jade Emperor's crown against the Hachiman out of Netrioid, also against Panitom's Naja with support for him to try to survive that one, and it looked pretty good when you're still aggressively dashing in to end the game.
Yeah, sure. I can understand the defense pickup. He did get soloed earlier by Netrioid.
Sure.
Really sick solo kill by Netrioid, by the way. But yeah, I think it's just Jade Emperor is such a good item. It's cheap, it gives some kind of power, and like, it's just a good aura to have on your team. He gets the Jade Emperor, so no one else has to get it. So they have that aura on the team as well, and he becomes so tanky against his Hachiman and his Nasha jungle on the enemy team.
It just didn't feel like Sanguine had any sort of footing to find any objectives. It was all SK Gaming. They did try for that one Fire Giant around that 20-minute mark or so, but it felt like a desperation tactic instead of actual logistics here. And this is the play from Zapman, diving in aggressively. Because of this play, SK Gaming got a 4 for nothing.
Yeah, that's a manly dash. It's so sick on the Raijin ults this game too, actually. I think he has another time where they had a fight at a red buff where he hit all 4 shots. So, like, actually really good, like, Raijin mechanics coming out from Zapman.
It was a 4 for 1 actually after the end of it all, and SK Gaming go on to win with that middle Phoenix Siege. Not able to defend that last remaining Sanguine member, and SK Gaming now in the upper bracket finals. You could tell the communication from this team is definitely on point. NeilMah feeling very good about that one, and now they're going to be waiting for their next opponent a little bit later on in the tournament of the placements. But how do you feel about SK's chances now qualifying towards Hera's Expo?
Like, super high, like just as I did before going into this tournament. Like, I just think they are the best team here. Some teams can contest them a little bit, I feel like, but I feel like they are just better. And I mentioned it earlier as well, like, you look at the SPL standings, they are way ahead of all the other SPL teams that are at the tournament. I just think they're a step ahead of every other team on this tournament.
There's definitely a little bit of a gap in the placement stages, but let's hear from the winners, Neil and Paul, with an interview.
All right, guys, congratulations on your set win over Sanguine. I mean, a lot of hype about Sanguine coming into this week and in this set in particular. Were they what you expected in this set?
Yeah, they definitely weren't an easy team to beat. They definitely make you beat them. Like, they're just not going to roll over. They show up to their timers. They don't just give you things for free. They definitely test you, and they make you think twice about decisions you're making. So definitely think they're a good team. But I think we just showed up when we played our game today, and it showed.
Yeah, you guys definitely played your game. Paul, you certainly played your game. Kind of a little bit of a slump of a season, not exactly your standout, but things picking up here. Is there something about playoffs, land time that brings it out of you?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's Worlds time, and it's time to, like, heat up and get good. I don't know.
Neil, I mean, you were doing the typical NeilMah, run around the enemy jungle, just W key at the enemy jungler as per usual. A lot of other teams aren't really doing that these days. You're one of the teams that seems to be sticking to it. Do you think that that's just a product of the way that you want to play against these matchups, or do you think the meta is going to continue to develop as we get closer to Worlds?
Trying to make me expose myself?
Yeah, please do. Also answer the question in addition to that.
All I'm going to say is it just depends. Like, every single game, there's a million options you can do right now. Like, you could see they're doing dual lane stuff sometimes. Like, you can do whatever you want. It just depends what you want out of your start and where you want to be playing on the map. So I think that it's just the right time. It can be called for a little bit of W key in the jungler, you know, just a little bit of a check, you know, or like, are you really going to be good today? Like, are you really going to ski your speed? So yeah, I think just right start for the right comp kind of thing. Just depends.
You guys came in here as the top seed, both numerically and I think in a lot of people's minds. Does that give you guys, does that help or does that hurt? Does it make things a little bit more dangerous, or how do you feel about that?
I don't think it really matters much, but maybe you can tell, like, some people get, like, a little nervous going against, like, the top seed team. So maybe a little benefit, but yeah, other than that,
yeah, it doesn't matter to us because, I mean, throughout the year, our biggest enemies are ourselves, right? Can't really be taking anyone for granted. Last year we lost to an SML team in the first round of this, so I think it's just we have to show up and play our own game and not really care about who's across from us.
I mean, who's across from you is the winner of this next set between LG and Simplicity. Any team you're expecting out of those two, expecting to see your SPL counterparts on the other side?
Yeah, I think so. They're a good team. They've been doing really well the second phase, I guess. So definitely expect them. They're all good players. But I mean, this time of year anything can happen. So best of 3, who knows?
Yep.
It should be fun to watch. Thanks, guys. Congratulations on your win. We'll see you
Thanks.
tomorrow. Make sure you stay tuned. LG Simplicity coming up.